So I'm really excited after the live stream yesterday, and we'll definitely be playing PoE 2 on release. Now, if you watched the live stream, you know GG cooked so much with all the amazing content. The early access is in 15 days, and I noted down all the important things you should know before heading into early access as a beginner or veteran PoE 1 player. There are also many things that were not revealed, and personally, I'm happy that they made these decisions. But do keep in mind that the information in this video is related to early access only, and if anything, it could and will change over the course of the open beta. Now let's talk about the information that we do have on our hand. So there are two ways to participate in early access. To get a key, you must purchase a minimum of $30 in supported packages. And now if you have spent at least $480 in supported packs in PoE 1, you will automatically receive a key as well. You can also log into your PoE account, go to view transactions, and copy all the packs in there to this website to check how much you have spent in PoE 1. The link will be in the descriptions below. So let's discuss the content released in the early access of Path of Exile 2. The game structure includes a campaign which is divided into 3 acts, now which will lead you to roughly level 45. After completing these acts, you'll face a tougher difficulty mode called Cruel, allowing you to reach level 65. Once you reach this level, you can access the endgame content. Now, this approach is reminiscent of the original Path of Exile, which features a similar structure before the introductions of all 10 acts. Personally, I appreciate that the focus is on the endgame rather than pushing the acts, as the endgame has always been a strong point for Path of Exile, especially when comparing to games like Diablo 4 or Last Epoch. There will be 6 different classes that are available for you to play in early access. One of these classes is the Monk, which you might have already be familiar with if you play Diablo 3. This class specializes in melee combat, but as you progress through the endgame, I think you'll discover that the Monk become very fast and versatile, which is definitely worth trying out. Next, we have the Warrior, which is similar to the Marauder from Path of Exile 1. From what I have observed, the Warrior is slower than the Monk, but will be very tanky and capable of dishing out the big hits. If you like the slow and steady playstyle, the Warrior will probably be for you. Now, for the Bow Enjoyer, the Ranger is likely one of the best choices as she can shoot while moving, allowing for really fast-paced playstyle. It seems that she can also deal a significant amount of damage with the impressive projectile skill that GG has worked so hard to put in the game. Hopefully my CPU can handle it though. Alright, we have the Mercenary class, and he's likely the most OP out of the 6 classes. He can utilize the crossbow as an assault or sniper rifle and fire all these explosive shots, make it somewhat logical that he has to deal the most damage. Oh, and he can summon the Ballista Totem as well. And I had a lot of fun playing the top-down shooter games like the Ascent, so most likely I'm going to start with the Mercenary class in Path of Exile 2. For the Minion Enjoyer, skipping the Witch class in Path of Exile 2 would be a mistake, especially since Minion received a significant overhaul. When your Minion die, it will now automatically be resummoned, which greatly improves the quality of life for players. And additionally, you will have more control over the numbers and types of minion that you can summon. This change makes managing minions much easier compared to Path of Exile 1. It seems that GG is giving some more love to minion players in PoE 2. The last class in early access will be the Sorcerer. Now, similar to the Ranger, the Sorcerer can also move while casting spell. This makes the gameplay fast and really elegant in my opinion. However, in Path of Exile 2, the spellcasting class has been divided into 2 separate classes, the which are for Summoner and the Sorcerer. So if you enjoy a spellcaster playstyle, the Sorcerer class is likely to offer the most interesting spell combination among the 6 classes. Now, clearly there are just the base classes, and if you're familiar with Path of Exile, you know that character customization runs very deep, and there are numerous ways to build your characters. The announcement did not reveal too much information in details about the Ascendancies, so I won't go into detail as well. But just keep in mind that in the early access of PoE 2, each class will have 2 Ascendancies. Once the game is fully released, there will be 12 classes, each with 3 Ascendancies, which will significantly alter your endgame experience. So there are two options to access these Ascendancies, and you can choose to do them separately or together, mix and match, according to GGG. So one of them will look just like the Sanctum mechanics in Path of Exile 1, and the other will be similar to the Ultimatum mechanics. The third one will not be available until the game is fully released, because it's in Act 4, I think. The Sanctum trials are similar to Path of Exile 1, where you gain access using a tome, which is now a coin, and you will progress to multiple rooms on the floor. Your resolve is now called Honor, and the primary objectives in a Sanctum is to minimize getting hit. Now, defeating a flawed boss will reward you with the Ascendancy points. Additionally, there are more challenging floors later that you can unlock in the game, which will provide even more Ascendancy points. The Ultimatum will be very similar to Path of Exile 1. In this new version, there will be multiple levels, and for each level, you had to choose one tribulation out of 3 that will impact the rest of your encounters. Upon defeating the boss, you will also earn your Ascendancy points, and you can fully ascend with any trial option you prefer. For example, if you don't enjoy the Sanctum mechanics, you can simply choose to participate in the Ultimatum trial instead. This is a positive change compared to Path of Exile 1, where players were forced to run the labyrinth if you want to ascend. Fundamentally, Path of Exile 2 item design changes a lot when compared to PoE 1. The first thing I want to talk about is the removal of the Alteration Orb and the Orb of Scouring. Now, Exalted Orbs is a much more common drops, and item has better relevant mod pools. What this means is that at least in the early game, your item's progression path is going to be quite linear. You will need to find and pick up good item base, and then keep adding mods to it. Vendors and item gamba is going to play a big part in the early game power. Another thing is the Orb of Fusing and Chromatic Orb are now removed, and item sockets are now being used for runes. Runes will add additional modifier to the item, and they cannot be removed. Not much information is revealed yet, but I'm assuming this will play a big part in the endgame with some really strong runes combination that you can use on the items. There will be additional methods to craft items using Omens, Essence, and various meta mod crafting techniques. I will discuss these in the endgame section later, but fundamentally this will differ significantly from Path of Exile 1, and we will likely need to explore and understand these changes during early access itself. Now let's discuss the endgame, which is likely the main reason why many of you are watching. Unlike in Path of Exile 1, the maps are the Atlas, can expand infinitely in all directions. This gives me a civilization vibe that I really enjoy. While this may seem complicated, I believe it will actually be quite straightforward in practice. Essentially, we'll have different biomes and nodes throughout the Atlas. Each of these nodes can be considered a map, and we'll use the Waystone in the map device to progress to our Atlas. The Waystone can be compared to the map in Path of Exile 1, and you also have the ability to modify them. From my observation, the key to progress your Atlas fast will be adding more mods to your Waystone, which will increase the Waystone drop chance. The more prefixes you add, the more rewarding your map becomes, and the more suffixes you add, the more challenging the map will be. Now, the fundamental difference between Atlas progressions in PoE 2 compared to PoE 1 lies in how you build your characters. In PoE 1, if you die once in a map, you have 5 more portals to finish it. However, in PoE 2, dying even once will cause you to lose access to the map entirely. Now, this change will require softcore players to think more of your character build offensively and defensively as well, if you want to progress and sustain your higher tier Waystone. Another tips for progressing your Atlas faster is when exploring the Atlas, you should keep an eye out for the tower structure. The tower will enable you to scout into the fork of the map, revealing a large area around you and helping you identify good region to progress into. You might even find good unique maps along the way, and from what I can tell, they can be very strong. So, like towers and tablet will be your endgame choosing content. The concept is similar to the monolith systems in last epoch, but it has its difference. You can think of the tablet as how Sexton used to work. However, in practice, this will entirely be different because the map will expand infinitely. There will be many combinations of towers and map location that can overlap, making some of your maps will be significantly harder. And for example, if you can get overlapping bridges map with extra hand clasps tablet, you could get some crazy map with multiple overlapping bridges with super high density. These tablets will also self-sustain depending on the content that you are running, allowing you to farm them infinitely. As a result, I think the endgame farming could be more linear than before, because it might be difficult to shift to other content since they won't drop the correct tablets. This is just my speculations, and there could be more way to integrate multiple mechanics by having overlapping tablets from different mechanics and trees, but we'll have to find out later during the early access. Several leaked mechanics has been confirmed to return in Path of Exile 2. These include Essence, Strongboxes, and Shrines, which are now called Precursor Artifacts. They are a part of the Atlas mechanics, and it appears that we'll be able to allocate Atlas points to enhance them. Additionally, other mechanics will also make a comeback, and they will each have their own Atlas tree. This is a big change, as it allows us to farm various mechanics without the need to respect the Atlas tree. The lead mechanics are Breach, Ritual, Delirium, and Expedition. Each of these mechanics feature its own pinnacle encounters, which will grant you skill points toward that leaked sub-Atlas tree. Additionally, they will now drop special loot tied to the mechanics themselves, which is essential for your endgame build. I should mention another mechanic called Map Bosses. While it's not really a mechanic, it will actually be a part of the Atlas and will have its own sub-Atlas tree. And you can also farm these bosses. They will drop higher rarity items, and with the changes in Path of Exile 2, higher rarity items are more likely to have higher tier modifiers, which will significantly improve the base item. I would assume in the endgame, people will be able to farm these bosses to obtain great base for crafting. Let's take a look at the special loots for each leaked mechanic in PoE 2, as it will all be important for your endgame build. First, we'll start with Breach. The Breach mechanics now drop Wish Rings, and I gotta be honest, they're looking pretty OP. In PoE 1, this ring were not very good, but now they can have increased maximum quality as implicit, and you can use Catalysts to add quality to them. And conveniently, Catalysts are now also dropped in Breach as well instead of Ultimatum. So if your build can fit a Breach ring, you better start farming Breach. A Breach ring can get up to 50% quality at the cost of losing an implicit. However, this will greatly increase any mods on the rings and will definitely outweigh the cons of losing the implicit. Unless Synthesis ring is back in PoE 2, but we don't really know about that yet. Now, completing many bridges and obtaining a bridge zone will allow you to engage in the Pinnacle Encounter bridge, which features Zes, or is it Zes? This is the only Pinnacle Boss fight that GGG has revealed so far, and it looks pretty epic. It's giving me a Soul-like vibe, and I can't wait to actually fight him. Successfully defeating the encounter will reward you with 2 Atlas points for the skill tree of Bridge. You can use this point to either increase the difficulty of Zes fight or enhance the bridge on your map. I'll wait until early access to get a clear understanding of this. There isn't much information available about Ritual, but the primary special reward will be Omens. In Path of Exile 2, these Omens are different and will be mainly used for meta crafting. This means we'll use these Omens to affect other crafting currencies. From the video, it appears that we'll have Omens that can influence currency items that use to add or remove prefixes or suffixes, like the Omen of Sinistral Exaltation or the Omen of Dextral Annulment. There should be more Omens that might help us with a more deterministic crafting method, but again, we'll have to figure it out in the early access. From the video, it looks like we'll get 5 rituals per map, and from the way Mark worded, the monster and tribute will likely not be decreased for the subsequent rituals, which means the final ritual will be pretty rippy. Now, the pinnacle encounter for Ritual will be the King of the Mist, and defeating him will grant you 2 Atlas skill points for the sub-Atlas tree of Ritual. The best Ritual rewards are probably going to be gated behind some of the sub-Atlas tree point as well, if I have to guess. Delirium is another important mechanics that rewards player with special items known as Distilled emotions. These can be used to anoint your amulet with a passive skill, similar to how Blighted Oils work in PoE 1. Additionally, Distilled emotion can be used to add a Delirious layer to your map, just like Delirium Orb. No, I gotta say, the Delirium in PoE 2 graphics are looking significantly better than PoE 1 for performance, at least. And the design of Simulacrum is absolutely chef kiss. Based on what have been revealed, I believe Omniphobia will definitely be returning for the Pinnacle fight in Simulacrum, but I'm uncertain about Kosis. So wanted to see what happens in Early Access. So Expedition is making a comeback, but no special loots or information has been revealed so far. We can assume that the mechanics will remain the same as in Path of Exile 1, which can be an effective way to farm currency with Turgeon and Danik. Rock and Wenon are also returning, and they could be very useful for farming good bases, especially with the removal of most reroll currency. I remember back in the day when Wenon was heavily nerfed with the Gamba, I used to farm good base with her instead. The Trial of Ascendancies are also endgame content that you can do as well. At the bare minimum, you will need to clear the trials on harder difficulty a few times to unlock all the Ascendancies. But if you would like to farm them, then let's talk about what are the special rewards that you can earn from them. So let's talk about the Trial of Sekima or Sanctum first. This is where you can find jewels, and especially Radius jewels, which they can be very strong because it looks like we'll have a lot of jewel slot in our passage tree, so eventually you need to fill them all with jewel. A major difference between PoE 1 Sanctum and PoE 2 is that you can now craft the relics. I think this is a positive change because at the very least you won't have to be stuck with one modded relic anymore. Another thing that I have noticed is that there's a unique similar to the original scriptures in PoE 1 that drop the original sins. Now, from what I can see in the Trial of Sekima, the no-hit run is going to be exponentially harder than Sanctum and PoE 1. So best of luck to whoever is attempting that first. So next we have the Trial of the Chaos God, which is similar to Ultimatum in PoE 1. Now, the inscribed Ultimatum room in PoE 2 looks like it's a lot bigger, and the reward will be a good source for Valor. My predictions is that Valor will be a lot more expensive in PoE 2 because it's a lot stronger. Adding one socket to an existing items or adding an enchantment on top of the implicit can be really strong. Apparently, this should be the last step in every item craft from now on, and maybe there will be a good meta crafting omen that can make it even stronger. The special rewards from the trial include soul cores. These can be socketed in your equipment just like runes, but they provide much stronger effects with exclusive modifiers. So it seems like they primarily offer generic damage increase for now. However, I hope to see some soul core that can modify skills, allowing for some interesting combo as we reach the endgame. Now, the last item on the list is the Pinnacle Boss, and I don't really want to speculate on who it will be, but it seems like this will be one of the hardest fights ever in Path of Exile. Players will encounter different factions fighting on the Atlas, and you will need to clear all the 3 factions Will boss version of the Egg Boss, and failing any of them mean you have to redo them all over again. I have to stress that the philosophy in Path of Exile 2 is very different, as in dying is very punishing, and even softcore player will have to adopt to a different playstyle, and it will be really hard to go fully glass cannon. Anyway, I'm super excited to play this game on release and in early access, and I'll try my best to cover both PoE 1 and 2 content when I can. And with that, we have come to the end of this video. If you like the content, please give me a like, subscribe, or comment below with any suggestions on what you would like me to cover next. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.